Paul Robinson and Sue Smith are still here. Just an area of a slight concern in terms of the defenders that aren't available at the moment. There's no Wesley Fofana, Reece James, obviously, and Koulibaly as well. Just means playing Cucurella, I guess, in the position he's not quite comfortable. He's better as a wing-back than the left side of a three. Yeah, and I think, that's something that we have praised Graham Potter for in terms of tactically. He's very good in. He can change things. He can adapt when players aren't available, or if he loses players when he's lost them at Brighton, he can adapt to that. And like you say, Cucurella maybe not in his natural position, but he can do a job there. And I think you looked at the game at the weekend, and it was just such a real tactical battle, wasn't it, between two managers that are capable of changing things. And you looked at Manchester United were on top, weren't they, for the opening sort of 30 minutes of the game, and then Graham Potter changed things. He went from a 3-4-3 to a 4-3-3, and it just worked. And I think we were saying, weren't we? We were saying, do you look at it as a positive that he's able to change it, or do you look at it as a negative that maybe you should have started that way? So I suppose it's which way you look at that. But I think I'd look at it more of a positive that he's able to. You always see the positives in things, Sue, don't you? A ray of sunshine on a Monday morning. How do you see it then, Paul? Is it a positive that in-game management is so important? It's all very well to set a team out a certain way, but if it's not working, you have to react quickly, because a game can be gone in 10 minutes if it's not working right.
And it also shows you that he's got authority in the dressing room as well. You come in as a new player, you're dealing with a lot of new players on a different level. No disrespect to Brighton, to what you've been dealing with. World stars, huge egos, huge performance levels. And he's actually had to pull a player off the pitch after 36 minutes, which no player like's been done. Granted, it's one of his older players that he's had at Brighton, but he's had to make that decision, he's had to make that call. He won't have been pleased with the way that Manchester United started the game. They overpowered them, they looked strong, they pressed them, and he was forced into a change. Did he get it wrong to start with? Arguably his team didn't impersonate their self onto the game in the way that he would have wanted, but you've got to give him a lot of credit for his in-game management, which, it's a difficult thing to have. We've seen players come off in the first half. It's never nice, but to manage those players is an art.
That's what I was going to say. It's player management as well, isn't it? Because, you think back to his first coming at Chelsea, it was the sort of thing that Jose Mourinho used to do, and we all patted him on the back and say, oh, that's brave and brilliant. And I remember actually doing a show just before he was appointed with Paul about Graham Potter and saying, have you got the stones to go in and say to big players, 35 minutes in, off you come? And he showed that that's exactly what he can do. And it is that's the difficult side of it, isn't it? Because we've praised him tactically and said that that's what he can do, is in-game changing. But it is, how do you deal with the players and the man management side? And, has he then gone and spoke to Cucurella and just said, well, this is tactically, brought Kovacic on in the midfield, and we were then able to dominate a little bit more and get on the ball, and that changed the game. And I think as a player, you just understand that. Sometimes it's not about how you perform personally, it's just about the game itself and tactically. And I think that's something that he's shown that he can do, and he's now showing it with Chelsea as well.
You talk about the manager impersonating himself onto the team and having, it's a big step up from where he was. But he got 5 clean sheets since he's been there. The results since he's come in speak for themselves straight away. Before the last 2 games, they had 5 straight wins. So immediately he's got the respect of the dressing room. So he then feels a lot more comfortable in that environment.
Yeah, it's going well for Chelsea. They will feel that the only slight area of frustration is that late goal on Saturday, played Tottenham at home, late goal in that game. I mean, 4 more points, they'd be really in business. Then it'd be 3 points off the top, Chelsea. Yeah, and that's something that I'm sure they're working on. It's about, finishing the game off and making sure you get those points when you get yourself in front. But I just think it's been a real positive start for Graham Potter, because we said initially, is it a risk for him going into there? Is it a risk for Chelsea appointing him? But I just think he's embraced everything that's come his way. And like I say, he's changed things tactically. He's also, you can see that the players are buying into what he wants at this moment in time. And I think when results come your way, you do buy into it, don't you? As a player, you go to the training ground and you're like, OK, what do I need to do to improve and get better and win things? But they'll be disappointed that they conceded so late on. But again, when we're talking about taking the positives, that is a big show of character from Manchester United to leave it so late. And Casemiro, who is the embodiment of a winner, grabbing them a point right at the death.
I think we're seeing a different Manchester United. We're seeing a team with identity. We're seeing a team that press high up the field. We're seeing a team in cohesion with one another. And I think it's taken Ten Hag a while. Listen, it's work in progress, and it has been for a while at Manchester United, but they've brought him in for a reason. And again, you talk about giving managers time and giving them, you know, an opportunity to work with the players. It's different at the other end of the league. Manchester United are never going to get relegated. Owners panic because teams are going to fall out this league. You bring a manager in for a reason, because you entrust him to do a job. Give him time to do the job. And at Manchester United, we're slowly starting to see the wind of change there.
It's fascinating as well, isn't it? Because they've played, you know, two of their big six rivals in a week. They've taken 4 points. It makes the big calls that Erik Ten Hag is making with Cristiano Ronaldo probably a lot more palatable and easier for everyone around the club to accept, because he's getting results on the pitch. If they'd have lost those 2 games, suddenly the clamour for Ronaldo to come back in is a lot louder.
Yeah, again, this is another instance where there's probably 2 ways of looking at it. I think the way that Ten Hag's dealt with the situation, I think was important. It's, you know, a player's done something that isn't right. He's refused to come on the field. He's then walked off the pitch. That's something that isn't, you know, it's not acceptable. And he's dealt with that, and he's sort of given the consequences for doing that. But I think, you know, we were looking at the team and the forward line, and we were saying, like, Ronaldo is still capable of winning games. He's still capable of coming on and being that match winner. You still need him. So I think from a Manchester United perspective, you want to try and control and I suppose just keep him there for
the only thing I would say about that, Sue, I guess that you could maybe take a comparison to the way that Mikel Arteta was with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And you thought, well, Arsenal still needed him, but Arteta said, look, these are the rules. This is the dossier of all the times you've been late. If you don't want to follow the rules of the rest of the team, we'll cope without you. Yeah,
and it's worked. It's worked, and that's something I suppose that Ten Hag's got to I suppose find a solution for it, and that's what it needs to happen for the player and for the club. There has to be a solution. So is Ronaldo going to be happy to sit on the bench and be second choice, sometimes third choice striker and come on and make an impact, or does he want to continue to be that number one player that they build the team around? And unfortunately, at his age, that isn't what is going to happen. So the solution has to be found, and probably has to be found quite quickly.
Listen, Ronaldo's better than Aubameyang. Let's start that off here. No, you're better off keeping a player like that, the discipline levels or whatever it is. I think the thing for Cristiano Ronaldo is he's in a different place to where he's ever been in his career. And it's a situation that he's never had to deal with. He's never had to deal with sitting on the bench. He's never had to deal with not being first pick. He's never had to be not the main man, if you like. And it's very difficult when somebody tells you that you're not that anymore. And from a goalkeeper's point of view, it's similar. When you're a number one goalkeeper and you get to a certain stage and somebody goes, you're not number one anymore, you're number two. And there's it's an ego thing. It's a kind of a confidence thing. And you all of a sudden have to accept a different role. And I think he's struggling in that area to find where he actually fits at Manchester United. If Ten Hag can get it right and get the relationship right with him, listen, he scores you a goal every 2 games. You look at Manchester United's forward line, Martial can't stay fit. Does Rashford play every week? Does he score the goals you need? There's still a job there for Ronaldo to do. At the moment, the team look like they're performing better without him.
Earlier on this morning, though, we spoke about the role of senior players. And listen, it's very difficult to manage someone like that because he is one of the greatest footballers we've ever seen. But can someone like a David De Gea or a Casemiro go and say, look, I know you're not happy, mate, with not playing, but don't just walk off? It shouldn't need saying, but does someone just cajole him along a little bit when he's annoyed?
There is an element of changing room management, as in management amongst yourselves. But I think for himself as well, he'll probably look back at that and regret it, in all honesty, because of what the impact that it's had. And it took away such a great performance from that Manchester United team that night, and it took the focus away from it. And I suspect he does have elements of regret, hence his statement that came out afterwards. And like I say, it's a new situation that he's not used to. It can't be resolved quickly. January's a long way away between now and then. So there's games to be played. There's a World Cup to be had.
What does he do between now and the World Cup then, just in the intervening, few weeks or so?
Well, listen, for the last thing he wants is any more headlines about his behaviour, about his conduct off the field. You get your head down, you work hard, and you contribute whatever the manager wants you to do. Unfortunately for him, and I've been in the situation where you think you should be playing, you want to be playing, and other people think you should be playing and want to be playing. There's only one person that makes the decision, and that's the manager. And that's one thing you have no control over. He should worry about the controllables, what he can control, keeping himself right, keeping himself professional. And if the opportunity comes in January for him to move, which I don't think there'll be any shortage of takers for him to do that, if that should arise. He just has to be the best version of himself between now and then.
Are Manchester United more likely to finish in the top 4 with him or without him?
Boy, he's throwing the
I know, I like to keep you on your toes, Sue. You see, I like to keep you on your toes.
I would say with him because of the quality that he provides and because of the ability to change a game. And you mentioned it before, Rashford, is he the best in that number 9 position? Is he better a little bit out wide? Martial, it's keeping him fit. Elanga. But I just think to bring in a Ronaldo that can come on, that can win you a game. We saw it against Everton, he did it there. So I would say keep him, but it's about having that togetherness and having that, being able to manage that situation. So him managing his own situation, but also Ten Hag managing it as well. So
you can't keep him as he is because it's just disruptive.
Yeah.
If you get him on board and you get the right person, the right Ronaldo, focused and ready to play his role in the squad, then absolutely keep him, 1,000,000% keep him.